My name, yes.
Aloha.
Good morning.
Yes.
I'm Stardust.
And I'm MadCatMelody.
And you are tuned into Pragma Pod, the all things anime podcast, presented by Pragmatic Aleatory.
Yes. On episode 4 of Pragma Pod, we continue our discussion on Steins Gate, covering episodes 16 to 20.
Also known as Hell's Gate.
Is it?
Well, according to Khippe, it's basically a third dimension of hell.
A good torture would be like, you have to watch this forever. It would be great torture.
That would be great.
Your time has come.
Has it? Are you going to kill me?
We'll see how this episode goes.
I thought these episodes were a step in the right direction. It's too little too late, but I do think that they were better than what we're usually used to. Episode 16. Well, first I want to say the font in the series. I feel like a lot of people don't really pay attention to type font.
True.
It's really good. They do an excellent job with it. That's the one thing that I can say they do a really, really good job. And the music, while it can be inconsistent, I still consider it a shining point of the series. So there's that. How did you guys feel about the reveal of Suzu and Daru?
Weird. Considering,
Yeah.
he makes that, he makes all the sexual jokes, right?
Yeah.
And I thought it would be interesting if, like, he makes these sexual jokes towards her, and then he found out he's his daughter, she's the daughter, and then he was like, oh, man, and he kind of, like, takes a step back and thinks about it, becomes a little introspective and questions himself. But he didn't do that. And I'm wondering, do you think it's more realistic that he didn't, or more realistic if he had, like, at least... Because even after he finds out that she's his daughter, he makes, like, a sexual joke.
Does he?
Does he?
Did I miss that?
Yeah, I think I missed it.
Because he's like, oh, you're going to have to call me daddy now. And then Mayuri's like, oh, even now, or it might have been Makise, but somebody was like, oh, even now you're going to make a pervy joke, just now too,
I don't know. I didn't take that part as being perverted. I think the only perverse part that he had after the big reveal was like, oh, how's your mom look? Are her boobs big? As far as it being realistic, I guess in terms of what? In terms of my expectations or in terms of how it is in the series?
Yeah, I'm asking you, so your expectations. Like if he was going to actually think about...
like if he thought and then was like, hey, you know what?
Yeah, if it would affect him or just the things...
There was no transition.
No, I didn't expect any of that. Again, I think these episodes were a step in the right direction, but the problems that it has they didn't magically go away. They're still there. I think...
Well, is it a problem? Because some people would call that just a character trait, right?
I think that is his trait, but I think the problem with Daru is the fact this episode did a lot for Suzu as a character.
Yeah. I mean, she was always kind of one of the best characters.
Daru is still a very whatever character. You had this big reveal between two people, and for one person, it didn't do anything for his character.
No. That's true. And for those of you who don't know, Suzuha was the part-timer who came back from the crazy, horrible future and is trying to help them. And Daru is the hacker dude who makes a lot of pervy jokes. And now we have found out that our part-timer Suzuha, who up until this point we've pretty much just been calling part-timer, is his daughter from the future. And all those pervy jokes are now extra awkward.
I think his behavior was authentic in terms of in relation to his depiction. Okay, I will say that. But for a scene that on paper you would think would have emotional impact, that particular scene had zero emotional impact. I was like, oh, that threw me off. I didn't expect that. But as far as like, oh my gosh, she finally gets to meet her dad. Like, when she hugs him and she's crying, I was just like, I don't care. There's another scene in that episode that did have emotional impact.
Which one?
That was actually done really well. And it was Suzu dying.
Oh, when you found out she was dead?
Yeah.
I was like, we didn't see her die.
When he read the letter of her suicide, that was handled really well. I think the Seiyu did a really good job. I don't think the other Seiyus were bad. I just think the writing and the way it was done and the timing of it was done well. As soon as she's like, all right, bye, it feels like 3 minutes later they get wind of her suicide.
Yeah, it seemed weird because, like, the timeline should shift. Like, I guess it didn't because she's got a different time machine. But the convenience of them oh, just as soon as they learn that she traveled back in time is when they learn what happened to her after 30 years of her being traveled back in time. Seems so
Yeah,
convenient.
zero suspense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we just agree to disagree. I had no problem with the way that specific scene was handled.
So she failed a bunch of times. In fact, she wrote, I failed like 40 times, and I was just like, who writes that many times? And then she kills herself.
She didn't remember anything but her name. And then all of a sudden, everything just came flooding back to her. And it
Yeah, and
caused...
that's
Reclaiming my time.
I felt
Reclaiming my time.
But-
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs to the gentlelady from California.
it caused this mental snap. So, I thought the desperation in her Sei's voice and the look on Okarin and everybody's faces as he's reading, I thought that was handled really well. You have this heavy burden on your shoulders. When you leave off, everything is going well, everything is going in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, it just doesn't work. And you realize the task that you had obviously was one of the most important responsibilities, and you failed.
I felt for her, mostly because of the voice acting. But I think what Stardust was maybe starting to mention was how unnatural it seemed to have that in writing. Like if Mr. Brown had brought a video of her recording, hey, I'm sorry, I failed. Like her yelling that at herself would have felt to me more natural as opposed to writing that down a whole bunch of times, which seems really weird unless you're thinking about it in terms of a dementia standpoint. Her brain's not all there. But also to me, part of the convenience that I was talking about was as if the time travel gods are acting in such a way to make it so that everything lines up. It's so convenient that she, A, forgot, everything, and then B, remembered just in time to write the letter, but not to change anything so that, they wouldn't have to explain why they haven't seen her for 30 years, even though she was 30 years ago, here.
That is very confusing.
If anything, this episode further pointed out the inconsistencies with the show. In my opinion, speaking about episode 16 and all the previous episodes, that moment and the big reveal that she committed suicide was the second scene that was done well. The first being Okabe's and Kurisu's talk about her father. So I just don't have a lot of criticism towards how it was handled. I think that there are things that you obviously are going to expect and predict and you're going to get right, and you're like, it's so typical. And that could be a criticism, but if it's handled well, it doesn't have to be a criticism. And I think it was handled well.
Okay.
All right. Well, I am done with this episode.
We ready to move on to episode 18, or anybody else want to add?
17.
Yes, you're right.
We won't skip the whole episode.
All right, that's it. That wraps up Steins Gate, the whole season. My notes are so stupid. I put about 9 minutes into the episode, things pick up, and the viral attackers show that they're attackers.
Well, that's not wrong.
I put Makise is once again the brains behind this.
Yeah, she's like his rock, even though she never knows what's going on. She can always give good advice.
She's the brains behind literally everything. He doesn't actually do anything other than the fact that he has the reading Steiner ability, as they call it, where he can remember the timelines.
That's nice, but he was turning bananas into jelly even before she walked into the lab.
Maybe he'd still be doing it.
I think he does a lot now. I think he is trial and error.
Yeah, I think he's become a flawed hero.
You think so?
Yeah.
As of now, he's the hero of the story. I still don't like his character, but that doesn't change that he's the hero of the story.
He's the hero we got, not the hero we deserved.
Yep.
I don't think I deserve anything for watching this. I deserve misery.
Oh, well then he's the hero we deserved.
But again, if you love it...
He's the hero that Kip deserves.
If you love it, you love it. You picked it, Stardust. I actually don't have a lot negative to say about these episodes. These episodes, like I said, we're stepping in the right direction. The viral attackers, maybe I missed it. Who are the viral attackers?
They're from the game.
Mad that they're mad that Ferris won the game tournament.
Yeah, she's in the tournament. And they're the people that are going to rough her up so that she can't win the tournament.
Yeah,
They're the nerd mafia.
That whole part.
Yes, essentially.
That whole part, I was like, this is, again, one of the random shortcomings.
Is that not a thing?
That's not a thing.
People beating... Because, I've known people that through, Yu-Gi-Oh! And and Minecraft and RuneQuest and games that I don't know the name of just paid their way through college and got cars and stuff. It can be like a big money business being in games. So I could believe that there would be people willing to rough you up, you know.
Listen, collusion is a thing, and I'm not talking about the legitimacy of them attacking her. I'm just talking about the writing and how they just magically were they there in any other episodes?
No, I don't remember them at all.
Because there's a possibility they were, and I just don't remember. But
well, this is a different world line anyway, so
yeah, I know, but like,
yeah, I know.
You just can't
introduce
there needs to be, you can introduce it, but the way it was done, it was like, hey, we're here, we're evil, we're ready to kick your ass. Like,
the way they introduced it made me think like, oh, this is just a natural part of life.
Bro, this girl was literally standing down the corner, and he's like, hey, what's up? And she's like, it's the Fire Ranger. It felt like an episode of Power Rangers. That's what
well, that sounds like you have a problem with their name. You know, if their name wasn't so corny.
I have a problem with their whole existence. If their name is something different, I don't know, like the Warriors, I still have my criticisms. This was a really stupid part to me. I'm just being honest.
Well, about Ferris, I want to discuss and ask about her decision. She's like, oh yeah, no, I'll do this for you. I'll kill my dad so that you can have your friend back and my friend back. I felt like that was really quick. I felt like, no, she probably wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, probably not, honestly. But also, can we just talk about the fact that like how is she able to suddenly remember both timelines?
Oh yeah, that's another convenience. Is that, oh yeah, so that they can have this emotional moment. And I don't want to be too critical about this, because the emotional moment in the movie or in the episode was kind of a big point in the episode. But and so I was falling into it, and I was like, oh, that's so sad, and they're having this, you know, and she's not going to remember. And then I was like, wait a minute, she shouldn't remember now. Like, what the hell's going on? That's his one special
why
thing.
Is she able to remember? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was explaining it away to myself. I was like, oh, maybe he has it and he can infect people with it or whatever. But it just seems so convenient.
I assumed the timelines were converging.
Okay.
Oh, that sounds. When you say that, it sounds so professional.
Ha ha ha, motherfucker.
Well, no, I mean that's usually what it is. Like they say that when you go back in time, it's not like you're in the same timeline and you're like, oh, here we are. Like, no, you're in a different string. And if you keep doing it and you keep acting unaccordingly to fate as it has been, then eventually things are gonna get blurred and mixed.
Well, I would have assumed what he's doing is he's actually erasing timelines, but you're saying he's merging them?
I don't think he was merging them on purpose. I just think him tampering with fate was causing issues.
Okay.
That's what I assumed was the case. That's usually what happens in the timeline stories that I'm used to.
I like my infection theory better.
All right.
So, but like, okay, if either of those are the case, which I'll give it to you, both of you, like both are, you know, very possible. Maybe they do get infected, maybe the timelines are converging. Both are possible, but why is she the only one up until this point that...
See, my theory explains that.
Well, I cut you off. Why was she the only one up until this point until what?
That has memories of other timelines.
How nobody else is noticing this. Even Makise, who he constantly comes back to and tells her about it, and she's not getting it at all.
No.
Which would actually be an argument against my theory.
What happened in episode 18? Rukaku started to remember.
We haven't got that far yet. Don't be just throwing stuff in there from other episodes.
It seemed that they were consistent in about 3 episodes where they were like, okay, this one's about Rukaku, this one's about Humiho, this one's about Moeka. They're just like, here's everybody's bit of backstory that we have. This one's about Suzu.
Yeah.
Each of them were able to remember a bit. I think Moeka didn't.
I don't think she did.
No, because it wasn't convenient for the story.
You know, I think that a lot of times when you have this, I can't remember the proper term, but when you have this device, it's like, it's going to happen because it's going to happen. I think that there are definitely constructive criticism to give towards that, but it just goes back to what we said before. Well, what I said before, which is like, if it's within the realm of what you established, or if it's a new starting point and the previous stuff that you established, and you stay consistent with it, then it's easier to accept.
Well, I don't think they previously established other people having the reading Steiner.
If you already established something and you have a new starting point and you're now consistent with that starting point, then it's not.
Doesn't it seem like if you say, oh, it's okay if it's something previously established or if it's something new? That encompasses everything.
Well, here's my thing is, like, there's still plenty of time to explain if you want more details.
Yeah, there is. And I have been impressed every once in a while with, oh, they do bring something back from the first couple of episodes. But this...
It was an issue for you.
Yes.
Yeah. That's fine. For me, it's like, well, this is something that I'll hold off my criticism towards until the end. And then if it's not resolved, I'll be like, yeah, it has some loose ends.
I'm going to criticize it now and take it back in the end if it gets fixed.
As far as her, I think you said her decision felt rushed for you. As soon as the Suzu episode was done, I was like, I feel like we're about to go boom, boom, boom with these certain characters in each episode.
You're
So
right.
I knew at the end of the episode there would be a resolution because there's only so many episodes left in the series, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't bother me. I assumed that she would accept her father's death. And because my prediction came true and it was very predictable, that's not a criticism that I have towards it, simply because they allotted the time that was enough for me to be like, okay, well, what's her relationship with her father? What was her purpose in making this decision? And although I didn't like the Marvel attackers, I thought that was stupid. There was a brief moment where I saw more of her character rather than the typical nyan nyan, I'm just a placeholder character that was there before. And that was enough for me personally. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see losing a parent is tough. Making the decision
It's not too bad.
to what's not too bad.
Losing a parent.
Making the decision, if you have the power to intervene and you can prevent your parents' death, therefore have more time with them, I can see a lot of people doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, the closer you are to your parents. And I think she, over the episode, was able to really think about what her actions cost because of Okabe being there. And she's like, I won't necessarily, there's a possibility that I won't remember everything or I won't remember anything. However, she had so much time to spend with her father that she's thankful for that. And they did the same thing in the next episode with Lukaku.
Right. And I think both of those would have been more tragic had they not remembered anything. And I think it would have been really cool if you had him come and be like, oh, I need to figure this mystery out and I need to get her to send this text and tell me what this is, what I need to write. If she didn't even believe in time travel and he's tricking her into, yeah, I don't believe in time travel, but I'm going to tell you anyway. If that was the case and he's going to erase this future anyway, and then she had no possibility of ever remembering, that would be so much more tragic. And I think that'd be so much more cool.
But do you have more time to add on and in within 23 minutes of an episode?
I think that would have been
a resolution at the end.
I think that would have been easier to fit in a resolution because you don't have her, talking about how, oh, I hope I remember this and I hope I remember you. And I hope that you don't have her doing that because she doesn't.
Yeah, but how long was that scene when she spoke about that? That was like 20 seconds. The reason why I feel like that wouldn't fit into one episode, I mean, I don't want to repeat what I said, but they wasted a lot of episodes.
Like too many.
So now we're in the moment where these final episodes are going to be boom, boom, boom. The time management, the choices of what to have in what episodes is affecting them now. So now the crunch is here. Did I love episode 17? No. But was it something that was better than most of the previous episodes of the series? Yes.
What do you guys think about the end where Ferris is messing with Okabe? I was wondering when I first watched it, I'm like, is she joking when she says we fought together? We fought darkness together and we were in love in a previous life and we had a deep connection. Is that a joke? It was kind of ambiguous to me. And I was like, is it a joke or does she actually remember?
I felt like she's that character that she accommodates her, and I guess she doesn't have the maid cafe anymore, but she accommodates different people. So Okabe, he likes to wax about all these epic journeys he's on and fights against darkness. And so she just plays along with that. Mm-hmm. That's what I felt like. And she's really good at adapting to each person's personality. That's what I was assuming.
Yep.
I felt like, and I could be wrong, but I felt like it was the writer's way of saying, oh, she could just be accommodating, or it could really mean something and we're going to get to it at the end. And it's going to be the flashback where he stares at the sky and the screen turns gray and it's like, oh, I remember she said this and this is how it ties into this. So
maybe. I'm going to make a predict, and I know some of the turns they've had for these characters were just wildly out of nowhere to me, but I'm going to make a prediction that she was just being silly.
I asked you guys because I originally thought that it was very ambiguous, and It's almost like I'm like I feel like, but I'm looking at their expressions and I'm like I feel like I'm missing something. So anyway, so I was watching this in English and I go and watch it in Japanese, and I don't know which one of you guys watched, but in the Japanese I had this feeling with the voice actors and the expressions and everything seemed to sync up, and then I felt like, oh, she actually means this. There is sincerity here, but I didn't feel it in the English one. So I was wondering which one you guys watched.
9 times out of 10, 9.99 times out of 10, I'm going to watch the Japanese one. Unless it's, forgive me, I think his name's Stephen Blum. He did Spike's voice and Mugen's voice for Samurai Champloo. I would watch that in English, or Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex was good in English and Japanese. And I've been watching Card Captor Sakura on Netflix. And those old 90s shows with the cheesy English voice acting, it's nostalgic for me, so I'm gonna watch it in English. But anything further past that, it's typically in Japanese. I don't think that you guys are doing yourself any service flip-flopping between the two, typically because there are times where one performance and emotion was done right in one language and it just wasn't in another language, and then vice versa. I feel like you run the risk of setting different tones.
Dude, I feel like it's adding little tidbits to the piece of the puzzle. Like I'm curious to see what the difference is, and that's why I go back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a way to look at it. For me, I feel like it's adding inconsistency, like the danger of inconsistency.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job with the voices in this, I think. I think Makise's voice is better in Japanese for the expressions that she makes. I don't think they make a lot of sense with her English voice personally. That might be a linguistical thing. I don't know. Or like a cultural difference. But if you look at her expressions, and you listen to her Japanese voice, I feel like they're a much better match.
I try to watch both. I try to go back and see what things are different. And that's interesting that you would say Makise is better in Japanese, because I think of her as from America.
I know. That's extra weird, I suppose. I guess that's really bizarre.
But also, I wrote down a note about episode 18, how in English they're talking about being a virgin, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, it's I'm a virgin, so what? Screw you." She says, "Screw you," and then she has the blush, right? And in Japanese, she says, "What's so wrong about being a virgin?" And then she blushes. And I thought it was very interesting, because what's so wrong about being a virgin? The beat there is that she accidentally revealed that she's a virgin. But the "screw you" and then blushing sounds to me like she's embarrassed at the thought of being with Okabe. She doesn't. She's trying to be mean, but also she's like, "Oh, I have to be careful what I say, because certain insults might seem like I'm coming on to, which I thought was an extra layer of it. I think sometimes the English has extra layers.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it can go both ways, I guess. There's different layers for both, and I think that's why it's interesting to listen to both.
Yeah, and it's different too if you know the Japanese, because I'm reading the subtitles versus the English translation, but the Japanese is probably, other intricacies that are different.
Yeah, that's probably true as well. If I didn't know any Japanese, I think I would have a much harder time of seeing that nuance, or hearing that nuance, perhaps, especially in that last episode. That's why I'm I think she's really sincere, but the English doesn't give it away. So I was really confused. I'm maybe I'm missing something. I don't know.
Well,
anyway, that's all I had to say about that episode.
Are we ready to go to episode 18?
I am.
It's
a Cyrano de Bergerac episode.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that is, but it sounds nice.
It's the play where, here's this Cyrano is this character who's very smart and very suave and well-spoken, but he's got this giant nose, and who could ever love a guy with a giant nose? But then there's this good-looking, dumb guy, and they both are in love with this girl. And the good-looking dumb guy, he's like, "Oh, I got this date with this girl." And so Cyrano, he's like, "Oh, I'll help you. I'll hide in the bushes and tell you what to say so that you say the perfect stuff on a date. And you'll sound, great." And he says the stuff that he would say because he's in love with her. Anyway, it's ever since that play, Cyrano de Bergerac, it's been a trope in sitcoms. Just pretty much every sitcom has an episode where somebody's trying to help somebody else out on a date by hiding in the bushes or whatever. It's a classic. I was ready for just a date episode. Somehow they got me ready for that, with all the tension that was building up with killing Mayuri over and over again.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess it's okay to just have a date. even though it's felt, again, very contrived that she was like, oh, I'll give up my entire life if I could just have one day of a date with you that I'll probably forget. That seemed a little convenient to me, but I was like, sure, I'll
Very
watch it.
teenage romance.
Yeah, very fluff episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer-esque.
I mean, must we hate on Buffy every single
I said I was
episode,
okay with
Mad
it.
Cat?
That's
Must we?
Stop it! Can't you see your constant fighting is tearing us all apart?
It's not hate. I never said hate.
Okay. All right.
Much later.
You know, I said what I said.
To me, Lukaku, again, on paper, it's like one of those things was like, wow, you can do a lot with this. So you have somebody that's struggling with gender identity. They're, physically a male, but they feel like they're a woman. And first of all, I'm just going to say it, because this is Japanese production, I did not think it was going to be handled well.
Wow.
Sorry, it's the truth. The first time that I ever saw it, and obviously I haven't seen all Japanese media, but the first time I ever saw anything related to gender identity within the story handled well was Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Wow.
Surprisingly.
The remake?
Yeah, because it's a remake, but it's also kind of like a retelling. So I don't think Steins Gate did it bad. I just don't think, inherently, I don't think they did it bad.
Which character are you talking about in Final Fantasy?
Well, okay, whatever. So there's a scene where Cloud has to dress up as a woman.
Right, I remember doing that.
To infiltrate Don Cornejo's quarters or whatever. And he has to go to the Honeybee, which is like a gay nightlife cabaret. And in the scene, he has to get... I can't remember the guy's name. It's like Andre or something. He has to get him to dress up Cloud as a woman because he does a better job than anybody else. He's the guy.
Yeah.
The guy's like, well, if you're going to do this, I want you to like perform at the cabaret. And then based on how you perform or, all of this, I'll see if I can work with you. And the conversation that he has with Cloud, it was really good to the point where I was in my head, I was like, they had to have people that are a part of that community work on this. I would be very surprised if there was all heterosexuals that just worked on this because this was handled well. It's kind of like those things where you have a writer that's writing the story of a minority that's not their own race. It's not like they can't tell it, but a lot of times it's not going to be authentic.
Yeah.
Unless you get a person that's actually been through that, and they handled it well. But this isn't, I'm sorry to go on so long because this isn't a Final Fantasy episode. I don't even think they have to do it as great as Final Fantasy VII Remake did. They didn't do as bad. Like most of the time in Japanese productions, they make fun of that community. And that's the honest truth. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If it's a character that's gay, they're like the comedic person, right? So Rukaku's whole storyline, it didn't like make me angry, but I mean, there were some jokes where I'm just like, okay, whatever. But they didn't do anything with it, really. It's like there was an idea there. So when she was like, go out on this date and she came to the decision afterward, I thought the decision afterward, that scene where she's like, I had to go back to hiding my feelings.
I'm sad. That made me really sad.
That was a good scene. That's what I was getting at. That particular scene, that was done well.
Mad Cat's laughing because he likes to see people cry.
No. Not an anime.
You're a monster.
Again, I don't care for Okabe as a character, but he's like, it doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl. And I was just like, okay, I feel like those lines gotta be delivered better.
I feel like that was still nice, though.
Yeah, if I was in that position and I said what he said, I wouldn't feel too bad. I would be like, yeah, I did a good job there.
I don't know. I feel like it's not necessarily the wrong thing to say. I'll give you a good example because I'm terrible at cheering people up.
I'll say.
Someone shut up. Someone close to me had to take a test. They can only take the test once a year. And they failed the first year. And then the second year, when they failed the first year, I was like, you know what you messed up on. You study, you go back, and you pass it. And that's it. There's no point dwelling, right? I was like, that was good. Good job. Good job. I did good. Then the second year, they failed again. And I got the same score as last year.
Oh.
And in my brain, I wanted to be like, bitch, what did you study? But when somebody tells you that they failed, the last thing they want to hear is like something as stupid as that.
Yes.
So I didn't say anything. And I looked at this person and I was like, hey, bro, you got this next year. I immediately was thinking to myself and I was like, I'm a dumbass. Because when someone just doesn't have the elegant way or the right way, that's what that scene was to me. That was like, hey, bro, you got this next year. It don't matter if you're a boy or a girl. Actually, it does, because they're struggling with their identity. So they had to go back to being in a body that they don't belong in.
But she wouldn't even comprehend what that was like because she shouldn't remember being a boy.
But she even said in the episode, I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah, she likens it to just before he knew she liked her.
You're gonna be a foreigner in your body. It was two things. It was her hiding her feelings for him, and it was her being in a body that doesn't feel like it's hers.
I liked the reveal of her liking him. And normally I'd be like, oh, geez. You know, like, oh, another girl just likes the main character. But I liked it in here because it gave the character more. I understand the character's struggle more. Because before it's like, okay, you want to be, and I don't want to be reductive, but I've always thought, okay, in an attempt to not sound insensitive to...
Oh, be careful.
I'm going to tell a story. I know this guy. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. So I'm going to call him Phil, right? He's like in his 60s now. He got
Is he
married.
a doctor?
No. I mean, if you want, sure. Yeah, he's Dr. Phil now. Anyway, so Dr. Phil got married, right? And just a different Dr. Phil. I'm going to say that for legal purposes. He got married to a woman and had kids, and then eventually I don't know what the word is, not realized. He eventually was like, I'm gay, right? So I'm gonna leave this marriage and go do other things. And waited till his youngest daughter, this is not necessarily important to the story, but waited until his youngest kid was 18 to leave the marriage, conveniently. Anyway, so then went on escapades with men. And I always thought, and I've talked to him about this, and I always thought, like, to me, marriage, you say these vows like, oh, till death do us part, whatever the other vows are. I should know because I've officiated marriages. But right now it's not important. Anyway, to me, it's like, I always thought it wouldn't matter if I was gay or if I wanted to like wear women's clothing or if I wanted to, whatever I wanted to do. Like people want to do stuff that's maybe sometimes they shouldn't do. And they should just, if they made promises, stick to those promises. So I imagine if I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what, I want to get a penis now instead of whatever else. Anyway, I should have said a better word. But I always thought it doesn't matter because you made a commitment, So previously when I looked at Ruka, I thought like, oh, you wanted to be a girl or whatever, but like everybody has problems, But now with the addition of, oh, that was an obstacle to his relationship with Okabe, I could better understand it and get into the struggle. I could better like, oh, I can understand how this could affect your life as opposed to, because otherwise it's not like I didn't see how his or her life would be all that different, being a boy or a girl, because in both cases he looked the same. But when I look at the kinds of relationships he wants to have, then I can more feel for him.
I mean, it's really more about like the person's individual struggles. And
what the hell are you talking about?
I'm saying what? I wasn't
saying if you make a vow when it comes to marriage.
I mean, yeah, because I feel like everybody struggles through stuff, right? Everybody's like, oh, sometimes I'm not in a situation I want to be in, but I'm gonna fight through it.
Do you think everybody in life has the right to mess up and make mistakes?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that they should be allowed to change or correct their mistakes?
I think it's good for people to evolve.
Let's not get into this just because I know it's going to be like a whole nother conversation.
because leaving a marriage, I think, is a lot of times a mistake, especially if you have kids, right?
Well, it depends on the marriage. I mean, if you fight like literally every day, it's really bad for the kids.
Yeah, but to wait till the kids are 18 and then be like, I can't be in this marriage anymore. I'm sorry. That seems like you have different priorities, doesn't it?
Isn't it? No, I think that it can be handled early or it can be handled late. It's dependent upon the family. I think that when you go through things, especially as a teenager or as a child, it might not click. As a teenager, you're already going through a lot of stuff. As an adult, it may be frustrating, but you're typically better equipped to handle things as an adult more than you are as a kid or a teenager, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
So you wait to spring traumatic events on adults till the people are adults, is what you're saying?
Well, I think to just say, oh, to spring this traumatic thing, as in, hypothetically, my father was gay this whole time and loved my mother, but wasn't in love with her. Like, I think as an adult, you're gonna be affected by that because it just flipped your world upside down. But I think the wise thing to do as an adult to realize that this person stayed in this, and the wife could have known to or not. This person stayed in this.
She did not. I would say, in my opinion, she was completely
But
blindsided.
You don't know. You don't know for sure, correct?
I mean, she would say that she was, and also she's not the smartest person.
Did somebody tell you? Did either of them tell you that she knew or didn't know?
Both of them would tell you that she did not know.
Okay, so then she didn't know, correct?
Yes, I'm fairly certain she didn't. She was completely taken aback.
Yes or no?
Yes. I don't know what the yes was, but I think you know what I mean by yes.
I'm just going to speak for myself. I can't speak for anybody. For myself, if I was in that situation and I was the kid, I would be like, my father was gay this whole time and I never knew if I didn't pick up on it. I think that it would be something to adjust to, but me, I would tell myself it's not about me. I have to look at why he did what he did. He did what he thought was best. And a lot of times we may not agree with decisions that parents make. And sometimes we may not understand them until we become a parent. But I think with an issue such as that, you need to understand that it's not necessarily just about you. You need to look at the person that's really being affected by it more than the other two.
Yeah, certainly. I'm just saying that I didn't, when that was presented to me, I thought, oh, like, it doesn't matter what that person wanted. Even if there wasn't kids, I would think, like, me in that situation should be strong enough. And I thought it was a weakness that Dr. Phil decided, oh, I'm just going to leave. Like, this is a partnership that
Do you think he just up and decided to leave? Or do you think it's something he thought about?
It probably took a while, but still, like, I remember in The Departed, Matt Damon says to his girlfriend, he's like, I'm Irish. So if we get married and you decide this isn't working, you're going to have to leave because I'm never going to leave. No matter how bad it gets, I'm going to stay in this situation because I'm Irish. And I respected that. I was like, that's what a vow is, isn't it?
I don't think you're looking at, in a traditional sense, yes, but I don't think you're looking at circumstances. If Matt Damon's wife is a serial killer and is killing people left and right, he's like, I'm still going to love you.
Okay, me personally, I don't see myself being a serial killer. But if Matt Damon was like, you know what, you're a serial killer, so I'm going to be a serial killer because I decided we're going to be together till death, I would be like, that's amazingly romantic.
I think you're dumb as hell for saying
You're right. That is amazingly romantic, and it would be a movie that I would watch. However, it's not a life I would participate in. I'll put it that way. But I would watch that movie.
Or if you look at The Whole Nine Yards, the idea of The Whole Nine Yards is that Bruce Willis is trying to kill his wife because he refuses to divorce her because he's going to go down with her. Like that's what till death will do us part.
I'm going to be real honest. I feel like it's hella disrespectful for you to draw these comparisons to your actual friend. Scenarios, these outlandish scenarios in these films.
I don't think he'd feel terribly insulted to be compared to Bruce Willis.
Maybe he won't.
Hold on, let me finish.
This is my...
I feel like...
No, let me finish.
I feel like he knows how I feel, Dr. Phil.
Shut up.
But...
You need to stop talking and you need to listen to me.
I don't feel like any of us can fully understand that situation because as far as I know, all of us are heterosexual. So I don't think any of us can fully identify with that.
Right, but what I'm saying is everybody has...
Hold on, let me finish.
Okay,
the reason why I'm harping on this is because I guess I just don't understand how you can think her life wouldn't be different.
No, I'm saying I understood it for her. I understood it with her because of the relationship. I admit I had a blind spot in the previous episodes because I was like, you're hanging out with your friends. It's the same. It's not really that different of a life is what I saw. I didn't see what was behind that, what her inner thoughts were. So I appreciated the reveal in this episode where she was like, oh, I like you, even though it was very abrupt. I appreciated that because I saw a different side of her. I was able to see it differently.
Can I ask you a question? Which do you think is a bigger crisis? Her not being able to be with him because if she goes back to being a male, he's heterosexual. So them not being to be together in the relationship that she wants, or her having to go back to being a male and being in this foreign body?
I think, so I'm going to say going back to being a male is a bigger crisis, largely because she doesn't have a chance with Okabe either way. And I don't know if she sees that. you know? So that's a non-issue. So the other struggles are actual, like, you're going to have to deal with this. But with Okabe, she should probably just give up on that.
So if she did have a chance with Okabe, would you think that would be the bigger issue?
I mean, that would be sadder. That would be more dramatic. That would be an actual, like, a bigger sacrifice to me. And maybe I think she considers it a sacrifice because she doesn't understand how little of a chance she has with him. But to me, I look at it and it's like everybody sacrifices something and you just, let it go.
Okay. And how do you feel about it, Stardust? Which one do you think is a bigger issue?
I feel like Cliff is trying to play devil's advocate right now, and
I'm genuinely asking you both the questions. I think I already made my stance that gender identity is the way bigger issue.
That is a very hard. That's a very, very hard thing.
Yeah, and I'm just admitting that I didn't.
Hold on, big fella. Stardust, I'm gonna not need you to mop over this question. I'll need you to answer it. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm used to when I ask Stardust those hard-hitting questions, I'm used to her like levitating over it.
She's a.
I don't know that that's true.
She's an avoider.
I don't know. No, I don't think that that's necessarily true.
Okay, so what's your answer?
So if you were asking me which one is a bigger struggle, I'm obviously going to say not the crush. I'm obviously going to say that, her identity is obviously the biggest thing. That's the most important thing because it's your identity. It's a big deal. And if you don't feel like yourself, whatever the case may be, that's a huge problem. Like that's a whole giant problem. And I don't even know if she knows what she's signing. Yeah, she doesn't even know what she's signing up for to like go back to being a boy because she doesn't remember it. So of course, I cannot agree with MadCat just because she's going to have a big problem going back. Not like her whole life's going to change because like she was probably bullied a lot. I mean, to be real, this is Japan and they're a little behind us, and like.
Oh, that's another thing I want to ask.
Here too.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
So there's a scene where Okabe and Haruka are talking on their date, and she's like, "Oh, you remember the first time we met? I was being bullied by these guys, and I get bullied all the time because I look like a girl." Right? And
yeah, I think that was like, was that when she was actually a girl?
She was a girl, remembering being a boy for some, because of reasons. And also remembering the first time they met, which made me question, like, if the first time they met, he defended her from guys that were teasing her because she looked like a girl and she was a boy. As a girl, how did they first meet then? And how could she still have the same feelings for him? That was a question that I had.
So, like, maybe it was, like, just guys, hitting on her and just being generally annoying.
Yeah, you could say that, but also like it's weird to me that these guys would, when she's a boy, I mean, maybe the guys were just hitting on her, maybe I missed that, but to me it seemed like they were making fun of her.
They were taking pictures of her.
Yeah, but they were taking pictures of her because she was. How would they know she was a boy?
Isn't she like a shrine maiden? I feel like I feel like there's a possibility when you work in certain professions
that they would just I could
You would know.
Imagine they would find out.
Yeah, rumors would definitely spread for sure because like that's not usual to have a shrine maiden, be a trans person. Like that's just not a thing that you hear about very often in Japan. So it would like the rumors would definitely go around and they'd be like, hey, do you know that one shrine maiden? Like that's really, really beautiful.
So we're imagining that in the timeline where she was just a girl, that those guys came up to her and were hitting on her, and then Okabe scared them off. So in the other timeline where she's a girl, how would they have met was what I was talking about.
Her and Okabe?
Yeah.
Was she one of the people that he knew? Well, I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know.
That seems like a plot hole to me.
Possibly. I feel like I would have to go back and watch the earlier episodes that she was in.
What do you think, Stardust? Do you think that's a plot hole?
I think that it would probably be the exact same situation, other than the fact that like guys wouldn't be bothering her about her gender necessarily, but more just about like harassing her, just like hey baby, like catcalling and taking pictures and just being generally annoying.
I'm sorry.
That stuff does happen.
Catcalling is very real. Just the tone that you said it is like if they catcalling in an anime. Hey, baby.
Just saying.
Catcalling is extremely annoying. Ladies, I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah. So in conclusion, I'm saying that I felt for Ruka more, and I know this makes me sound like a bad person, more than the real person, Dr. Phil. I felt sorry for her,
All right.
Wait, why?
Because she was a victim of circumstance. She didn't do anything wrong, I felt like. He did. Dr. Phil did.
Okay. So I see. So you think that your friend, he orchestrated it in his own life, and so therefore it is not really, he's not a victim of this.
Yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, she didn't choose who she loves, but she also didn't get into things that she couldn't handle. She just cries a lot.
She does, poor thing.
Well, I mean,
you know what though? Speaking about your friend though, this is maybe this will give you a different perspective.
I'm open,
and this might make it worse actually, but I'm down for it.
Ooh, exciting!
So I know someone that I have met. Super nice guy, guy's guy, and married a beautiful woman.
Woman.
Yeah, really beautiful. Loves cosplay, things like that. And about 5 years into their marriage, she transitioned fully to being a guy. And I feel like, that wasn't really part of the marriage contract. I feel like that could be an easy out, like I feel like that should be like a null and void situation. Like, hey, that's cool. I respect you. I'm glad you want to live your life however you want to live it.
But this isn't what I ordered.
I still love you, but like, I don't know how this is going to work because this isn't the contract that I signed.
Right.
Like it's like you're the same person, but also not. So like now we have to take into consideration all these things.
Like when you ordered an Apple phone and they give you a Samsung, it's not the same, right?
Yeah, like sort of in that way. I mean, I'm not gonna say one is better than the other or anything, but like
one is better than the other. I'm not gonna say which.
I don't think it's fair to make light of the situation.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, let me just get to my point, and then we can move on to the next episode. Because I think this is a really important point, and I want it to be known that he decided it didn't matter, and he was going to stay with his wife, and even if she was a guy now. And this just it just made me believe in love all over again. I think it's like the most beautiful thing ever.
That absolutely, and in the best way, because it's going to sound bad, but in the best way makes it worse because I believe in that. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think that's what you were going for, and so I wanted to give you an example of
how you sound so much better than I do. So thank you.
No problem. I wanted to bring it full circle because I understand what you're saying with, this person. It's not so much the circumstance, but it's more like you signed up for this contract and now you're not fulfilling it. And
yeah, love is supposed to be forever. It's
supposed to be forever.
Right?
And I understand that you're a romantic person. I get that. I think it's what you're going for. And so I wanted to give you an example of like a very romantic situation. And
thank you. I feel like you make me, sound like a better person.
Like there's a lot of ways to go about it, I think. Like you can, like my own parents, like they hated each other for a long time, and divorced when I was very young. And however, they have come full circle, and now they are friends.
Wow!
Same thing happened to me. As I got older, I told both of them, "I don't know how you guys stayed together as long as you did." If anybody has anything to say after this, go for it.
Well, I want to say like it's beautiful.
Let me finish.
Okay.
If you fall out of love to someone, and that person still feels a certain way towards you and they still love you and you try to make it work and it's not working, I think it's totally okay. Divorce is okay. I don't understand why you would stay. I think it's disrespectful to both people to stay in a marriage that's dysfunctional or that's toxic or that's not healthy, and mentally it's not doing any of you a service. I think everybody has the right to live the life that they want to live. I think people fall out of love, people fall in love. It happens. There's love in the storybook sense, and I think there's love in reality, and that love in reality can be Disney, and sometimes it doesn't always have a happily ever after ending. But with divorce, it gives the possibility of having a happy ever after ending when finding someone else. If anything, I think there's something very wrong with immediately rushing into marriage, which a lot of people tend to do, in my opinion. And then you move in with someone and you could realize, hey, no, I made the right decision. I love this person. Or you can move in and you can be like, this is not how I thought it would be. People change, and that's life.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you, I don't know how this came to be here, but anyway, so I think the last thing that I'm going to say about this episode and this entire discussion, I think that love can overcome a lot of things, but if you don't have love, then there's nothing to be overcome because nothing else exists. You may as well just get out and be happy somewhere else.
Do you have anything to say, Kat, before we move on?
Nope, nothing. I think everything that could possibly have been said has been said.
episode 19.
You guys want to hear the comments?
Yeah, go ahead.
Blue Milk 2 says, considering what accomplished in this episode, what it accomplished? Yeah, I didn't write this. All right, Blue Milk 2, considering what was accomplished in today's episode, today's message really lived up to the name D-Mail. But
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't. All right.
Okay, next one. Human by day, weeaboo by night says, my friend had trouble figuring out the Terminator timeline, and I'm pretty sure this series will cause his head to explode. I don't know that that's the case, but...
Also, the Terminator timeline in the later movies doesn't make sense. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it. Go on.
Username says, oof, Moeka is cray-cray. So that's...
It's slightly clever.
Slightly. And I'm sure you guys will remember in this episode, she's kind of losing her mind a little bit. And because someone named FB will not answer her back, and she's like, FB, you're my purpose. FB, I can't live without you. You know, FB gives me meaning. And the roomie's like, damn, this girl really likes Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's a good comment.
Oh, wow. He's right up there with me. Okay.
That's what I was thinking too. So I was like, that's a good comment. I was totally with him or her. I don't know.
Them. They.
So, episode 19. I felt like this was where it really starts to get Okabe, like more than ever before. Like he's starting to lose it. He's starting to kind of break a little bit.
I like to see him break.
Me too.
I like to see him go through some fire.
Yeah, he's like, he goes back, right, resets, and he's talking to Makise, and she's like, Okabe, what's wrong with you? And he's like, I've told you this over and over again. You remember that part?
Yeah.
So I thought that this was sort of like he's starting to he's really over talking to her about it because he keeps having to tell her over and over again the same exact thing that happened.
She's always useful.
Yeah, no, she's wonderful, and he should definitely keep telling her. But I can totally relate to this kind of feeling where man, I've had this same conversation so many times now, and it's meaningless because nothing comes of it, and it's relatable. I found it relatable in some way because I feel like, and maybe Kip will back me up on this one, don't you feel like it's relatable in some way when you keep having the same conversation? Like you've had these conversations at work with a coworker and you reach that point where you just can't have that same conversation one more time or you might lose it.
Yeah, you do some mental astral projection and take your brain somewhere else. Your body's still there, your head's still nodding, but mentally you're gone. Yeah, I'm really good at that, yes.
So I really related in this way. I'm like, I feel like a lot of us have been in that situation.
No, I definitely agree.
But also, can we just talk about the fact that Moeka is apparently super strong? He punches her in the face, and it looks really visceral. Because the animation changed, that's how I knew. And then kicks her into the wall, and she gets up like it's nothing. It's like,
is that like she's super strong, or is that just like he survives on junk food all day and doesn't do anything, and he's super weak?
I think when your adrenaline kicks in, all of that pain is gonna come. It just might not come at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's clearly really strong apparently. And also, what do you guys think about the fact that he stole her phone, did whatever he had to do, right? Look through her texts. And I'm like, he just locks her in her room and she's like a wild animal trying to get her phone back. Why would he not just steal the phone and run away? Why would he just stay there and be like, no, wait, I'll give it back to you?
I feel like her stamina trumps his.
Yeah.
Maybe.
She's got the phone adrenaline. He doesn't have any of that. I want to go into the little old lady because I would think if I was that little old lady, I would assume that there was a sexual assault going on and I would want to...
Yes, thank you. Exactly.
What's your defining moment where you're like, she's being sexually assaulted?
Well, when she sees this guy on top of this girl in this room that is oddly devoid of a lot of furniture and they're fully clothed and he's on top of her after all this banging, I would at least question this situation.
Yeah, it was a little weird to me too. I'm like, I'd be like, hey, can you guys keep it down first of all?
She was concerned enough. She was concerned.
Stop interrupting me. It's really very...
No, she was concerned enough to come over, but then when she sees something's going on, she's like, well, I'm going to just leave now. If you're concerned enough to come over, that's all you're going to do? You're going to just walk away now?
I'm like, ma'am, are you okay? Are you all right?
I just want to say...
Yeah, at least that. That makes sense.
I just want to say, in the context of this series, it takes place in Japan. They're Japanese. I do not foresee that old lady being like, "What y'all doing?" I foresee her having her exact reaction that she has in the anime.
I could see that reaction, but I mean, that's a bad reaction. I feel like
I think that's a whole nother topic again. But yeah, I do agree. Japan has a lot of things that they go by. One of them is like, just don't be a nuisance to the person next to you.
Don't be a nuisance to rapists.
It's like, mind your business. And the other thing is just bear with it. And while you laugh, there are a lot of times where people see groping on trains and nothing's done about it.
I believe you, and that's, yeah.
I'm not saying, and again, I don't agree with doing nothing about it, but I'm saying within the context, I can totally see that old lady having that response. If it was in the U.S., I think that people, I can't even say everywhere in the U.S., I think especially if you grew up in an impoverished area, a lot of times we have this idea where it's like, mind your business, because if you don't, you can come back to bite you in your butt.
Right.
So I think a lot of people walk away for various reasons. So while unfortunate, I definitely can see that happening.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Well,
did you guys have anything else to add for 19?
No, that's pretty much all.
No.
Episode 20. Once again, Makise helps him figure out what to do. Yet he almost did not inform her again. And now Cray Cray Moeka is waiting with him to catch a glimpse of the mysterious FB.
Yeah. Felt like a classic spy movie scene, which I liked. I like spy movies, so that's not a criticism.
So basically, this whole episode is them tailing the mystery transporter of the IBN from the locker, from that coin locker, to on the train, and then they watch it being taken on a plane. Because does somebody want to do the reveal?
No, you got it.
Because the big reveal, dun dun dun. I feel like Kip should say it because it's Kip's favorite character.
Yeah, it should be Kip.
I know, I think Kip should do it. It's his favorite character.
So we found out FB is none other than Frieza, and he's gonna get those sayings if it's the last thing he does. It's Mr. Brown. It's Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, their landlord.
There was no point where I was like, oh, it's got to be Mr. Brown. But I felt like, again, because it's a visual novel, I feel like those characters that are shown to be not important characters always end up being important. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I knew he was FB because I didn't. But I knew he played more of an importance because he was always gone. But I thoroughly enjoyed Mr. Brown's scene. And surprise, surprise. So he shoots Moeka.
You have outlived your usefulness.
Yeah, you gotta go. The reason why I put this in the 3 scenes so far that were done well is because after talking, like, he holds the gun to himself, right? He's gonna kill himself. Okabe starts running towards him and he shoots himself. And it doesn't immediately show shocked faces. It doesn't immediately show blood on the ground. It cuts to his daughter sitting at the breakfast table waiting for her father to come home.
Yeah, that was powerful.
Yeah.
That was hands down the best moment in the series. The choice to make that edit and just immediately go there, that was genius. There was a genius moment in Steins Gate, and that was it.
They've used it up.
I would love there to be more.
I feel like they're increasing.
Like I said, man, these episodes were a step in the right direction.
Mr. Brown shoots Moeka because she has outlived her usefulness. And then, so CERN will not come after his daughter because it's the only way, apparently. And it has apparently come to this moment. He shoots himself.
But how do you really, confirm that, right?
I mean, in the scene, he just was like, she won't know.
I was really touched by that.
That was a really good scene, man. I try not to do the what ifs, but what if most of the anime was on that quality that scene was?
Wow.
Well, that would be a different anime.
Okay.
I have a note about the difference between the translation, the subs and the dubs. In the English translation, right before he kills himself, he says, "Oh, you said I was a dog, but actually I'm a Judas goat." Leading
it was
the
extra
other.
Weird.
Well, it's interesting to me because in the Japanese it says, "Oh, I'm not a dog. I'm just cattle, like everybody else. I'm going to the slaughter." But I thought Judas goat was so much a cooler line and more descriptive.
I could see how Western audiences would get that much more. Like, that's a little more clever, I suppose.
Is it not cooler for Eastern audiences as well? A Judas goat is an interesting
I
idea.
I don't know that most of them would get the reference.
No, they probably wouldn't, but that's cool too, that some people might be like, I mean, it's probably going to be mostly Western audiences since it's the English translation, but people that don't know are invited to look it up. What a Judas goat is, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing for sure. I think it would just be a hard thing because like most of the audience, I think, wouldn't get it. They'd be like, "What?"
Look it up, people.
I mean, you could, right? Like, you could. Like, there's plenty of jokes that go over my head.
Because I feel like it's such a weaker
things.
thing. It's such a weaker thing to say I'm cattle. Like, oh, I'm just one of everybody else. I just shot her in cold blood, but I'm just like everybody else. Like, that's such a weaker thing to say as opposed to a Judas goat. That seems like rising to the evils that he's done. It seems like actually coming to terms with what he's done.
I only had like one more thing to say about this episode. So basically, yeah, Malika dies because Mr. Brown shoots her and then he shoots himself. Now his daughter's an orphan and all the cast members are just looking at him like, oh, holy shit, that just happened. And then they reset and they got the IPN.
And presumably Malika kills herself again? Is that the assumption?
I don't. So I'm a little confused by this reset because now I'm just like, I feel like they should have just let it be. Like, I feel like just let it. That seemed like a good enough ending to me. I was like, we can just stop here.
We definitely know your ass isn't the protagonist.
I was like, this a lot's been done. I feel like if you messed with it too much more, I don't know. So anyway, so they go back though. Apparently, they've gone back to the first world line finally. They've undone everything, and it seems like he suddenly remembers, just like the rest of us, that Makise is the first person to die, and if they reset that first world line, instead of Ayuri dying, it's now going to be Makise, which sucks because she's legitimately the best character.
He's been bonding with her this entire time, right? So that's a very well-placed parallel storyline where he's been trying to save Mayuri, but also being closer and closer to Makise each time because she's been the most useful, even though she doesn't know what's going on. So that's interesting. That's a very well played storyline, I think.
Yeah, and I really felt at this moment, I was like, oh, I want to go ahead and skip to the next episode. I want to watch it. And I was like, oh, wait, I can't. I'll know too much. I will know too much ahead of my time. I'm saving the suspense for you. What would you do? Would you save Mayuri or Makise?
I'll tell you what. I would look at the cameras and I'm like, John Quinones, I know you. Okay, I know you created this scenario, and I can tell by the silence I'm getting from both of you that you don't understand this joke, so I'm just stop it here. I can't believe you guys don't remember what would you do with John Quinones.
John Quinones?
I always call him Quinones, okay? Just like when I was a kid and I said Quesadilla.
I'm sorry, what? Quinones?
Some names you just have to pronounce wrong. It's just a part of it, all right?
Well, you gotta tell me who you're actually talking about.
It's like my uncle who says Tom Hank.
That's pretty close.
I admire that, and I never tell him that it's an S at the end because I'm like, that's Tom Hank. What would I do? I feel like I can't say that this is necessarily the thing with Steins Gate, but I feel like, and sometimes it's like, well, there has to be some type of reaction that needs to occur for things to possibly progress in the manner that you want. So there's gonna be something that you just don't want to happen that has to happen. You just gotta pick. And you could do something that's equivalent to that reaction as a substitute. That's what I would be thinking. So I would just kill Daru because he's like,
oh, somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, but then Suzuha, like our other favorite, will never live because that's her dad.
Huge ripples for the timeline.
It's okay because
is it?
Ferris had to accept her father's death.
Yeah, but Ferris's father didn't create a time traveling superhero.
He's like the hacker. Like we need him to hack things. Like they can't really do anything without him. Like he's sort of the muscle behind this.
You can go to Code Academy right now.
You can go to Code Academy and learn how to fix the time machine.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, my man is a hacker, and all of a sudden he knows how to fix a time machine.
Yeah, that was an issue for me.
I'm a hacker. I know how to fix your car. What? What? As I said, Daru can die.
As I said, Daru can die.
Oh my god.
Someone had to die. Who is it going to be?
I mean, I would pick our main character for sure. Like, I think that he should definitely die, like for sure. But between the two characters, I would probably pick Mayuri. I mean, I feel like she doesn't do anything.
Oh wow, I didn't see that one coming.
Well, Maki is a scientist. She can benefit, she can, breed better things for the world.
Too, and you said he should die.
Well, that's just because he's annoying. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. I'm sorry.
I don't know if he's a scientist or self-proclaimed. I still don't know. What the hell?
Turning bananas into jelly.
All right, bro.
That's science.
You can do that right now. Go put one in the microwave for a long time. Who would you kill?
Me?
Yeah, you're the last person. Yes, you.
So I think Mayuri is not, again, also not a scientist. When Stardust said, the main character, he's, he could go. I was thinking, well, he's got the reading Steiner, right? He's the most useful, arguably, even though he shouldn't be, right? And Daru, even though shouldn't know how to fix time machines, he apparently both makes the time machine and makes Suzuha. So Mayuri is kind of the least useful, assuming Moeka's death isn't a part of this equation.
Yeah, it is. You can kill her.
Well, I would definitely kill her because she's so annoying.
All right. So we each chose different people, and I want to say,
wait, who did you pick, Kip?
I just went on a rant about it. It was Daru.
Oh yeah, you picked Daru, but he makes the time machine.
And guess what? Guess why his daughter died?
She would have died. Everybody dies. It's what you do with your life that matters, right?
Man, how disappointing would that be if Daru turned out to be your dad? I'm just so disappointed.
Well, I mean, I don't like him personality-wise, but if he's a super genius that can build time machines and can also hack into international companies, I wouldn't be mad at that. And I'm prejudiced against fat people, but I'd still be like, you're super cool.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Oh, yeah, let's end it there.
Wait, what?
So next week we will be wrapping it up with Steins Gate. We have 4 episodes left, I believe. So yeah, stay tuned.
Exciting.
Very exciting time.
And I'm prejudiced against fat people.
Hey, baby.